Two guys of Minnesota sports flowing in their veins. Mackey and Judd on Score North and ScoreNorth.com.
The OG Score North podcast here. Okay, before we get into some themes from the week across our various Score North shows, we better do the Twins ticket shout out now, because I think we got some things to vent about here. But I, for one, am really excited to see some fresh young faces at Target Field the next 2 months. What do you say?
Yeah, twins.com/tickets. Twins.com to learn more. You can see all the promotions that are coming up. Plus, they're on the road now. They're in Cleveland right now. We'll see what the next bomb that drops is between now and the 5 p.m. deadline. But 3 games against Kansas City next weekend. Detroit coming back here again, a homestand against the Athletics and Tigers in August too. So go to twins.com to learn more.
Shane Bieber just got traded today.
Oh, nice.
Was he? He's still on the guard. I mean, he was on the Gardos this morning, right? But he hasn't pitched, or what's the deal there?
He's been throwing in the minors. He's been throwing in the minor leagues. He's pretty much ready to rock, I believe is what it is here. Cleveland did this actually last year when they got Alex Cobb. He was, I believe, still injured with San Francisco.
Yeah.
And Bieber, I think, is going to make this is very Cleveland-like. He's going to make like 16. There's like a $16 million option for next season that has to be picked up too. So. Going to Toronto, it looks like. All right.
Okay. Little Blue Jays making a push. I think we should carve out some time here to start this Mackey and Judd extravaganza. I guess we can call it like an emergency sports crisis meeting.
Again, for the Twins.
And we'll have the Score North. Declan had I think from your car you did just a Duran recap yesterday. Yeah. We'll do a fuller episode with Doogie. It'll be probably between trades today, but we'll read. There's a bunch of stuff from yesterday, the Duran trade, the awkwardness in the dugout and the clubhouse, and some players went into Rocco's office, and we can talk about that. Chris Paddock threw the Twins under the bus. So we'll kind of like draw a line there on the Twin show later today. We'll do a Feedback Friday Twin show tomorrow. But just how would you characterize the Minnesota Twins right now, just sort of broadly?
I would characterize them as a circus right now. I think they're a circus. I think when it's funny, there's always been rumblings, and we've talked about this in general as well, in generalities, about the communication issues that might exist within the franchise, right? And a guy who seemed like he might be one of their best communicators high up the food chain was Thad Levine, who's gone now. And yesterday, I think it came to a complete head. When you've got, and Phil and I were both at the Vikings practice, but last night I decided, you know what, I'm going to find out what happened. That Twins score is very ugly, but I'm going to find out some particulars about this game. I'm going to read everything possibly that I can. And I started to go read the play-by-play of just the absolute circus that took place. Not necessarily involving a 13-1 score, but from the decision to bring in Griffin Jacks, and then he's brought into a game which is hopeless, which already is a very interesting decision. And so he gets hit, and Baldelli's like, okay, we're down by 8 runs now. I can pull the trigger on Cody Clemens coming in with guys on base against Jacks. And so I'm going to take Jacks out, and then Jacks balks at that, and then goes into Rocco's office with Carlos Correa post game. And then Jacks comes out and apologizes. And meanwhile, Carlos, the rumors come out, and it sounds like they're factual. They've been confirmed that the Houston Astros and Twins have been talking about a trade.
Is Carlos trying to kind of back channel his way to Houston while also attempting to pseudo lead the Twins clubhouse right now?
And why does Carlos, here's just a quick aside, why does Carlos feel this need to always tell us that he's in constant communication with Falvey and Rocco? Like he's literally saying, I'm sort of in charge here, so don't be concerned. I've got complete control. And then the last thing that I thought was a complete circus, and this is Rocco's fault, is he sends Willie Castro out to second base late in the game, but he has decided that he wants Castro, in case he's traded, which he probably will be, to get a big ovation from a crowd that's watching this debacle of a baseball game. So he pulls him off the field, but meanwhile, it sounds like Castro has no idea what's going on. So everyone from the media to the fans to the teammates to Willie Castro thinks, I've been traded.
And Dan Hayes had a long Twitter thread from The Athletic kind of recapping this, but was that the spirit of the Willie Castro thing? Because Judd and I were just out there grinding, inhaling Canadian smoke at training camp yesterday while all this was going on. So they literally, or Rocco thought, Willie Castro is a meaningful enough member of Twins lore and history, and B, that the crowd in attendance is locked in enough on this team that's selling and getting their asses kicked in a matinee game where there'd be a moment if he took him off the field that it would be like Joe Mauer coming out with his kids with the catcher's gear on one last time. Like, is that what they thought was happening?
Yeah. They thought Willie deserved a little bit of a pat on the back, which is absolutely wild.
But why wouldn't you tell Willie Castro? It sounds like they didn't tell him. Like, at least tell him, Willie, you have not been traded, but what we're going to do, we think you deserve a big round of applause, which we can all agree is absolutely ridiculous. But you don't tell the player, and then you just arbitrarily yank
him
off.
He's a random utility player. Like,
but he created.
And Rocco
but like. Well, and that's fine, but he created even more of a problem unless he told him and Castro somehow just got confused because he's not that bright or something, which I don't think is the problem. Like, he pulled him off the field without telling him, I'm sending you out there to pull you off because, and Castro might have said, don't do that. I'm not going to get a bit, like, that's embarrassing. Like, what is going on here? Where's the communication in any of this? Why, Jack's probably, it's a big no-no in baseball to show up your manager on the mound when you get pulled. Don't throw the ball to him. You just hand it over respectfully. But what are you doing? Are you telling me there's no other slappy in that bullpen that can just pitch back-to-back days?
And that's clearly
until he gives up runs.
That's what he was mad about, right? I think he was mad twofold. Why am I out here? It's a bajillion to one. It's right before the trade deadline. Like, just let me. He's probably got a lot on his mind too. Like, why am I even heating up right now? This is ridiculous.
To be traded.
And then he puts some guys on base, and it's like, well, now you're going to bring in a position player to give up these runs. My ERA is going to go up even higher, and so I get his frustration. I still can't get over the tone deafness or the lack of, like, unless I'm wrong. Let's say there would have been a memo sent out, clearly communicated to Willie, to the dugout, to fans. Hey, he might get traded here, folks, and this might be the last time you see Willie Castro in a Twins uniform. I think people would have turned, looked at the field for a second, and like, oh yeah, okay, Willie.
That's like having a Willie Castro night. Like, we're going to have a Willie Castro night because he's such a glue guy. And Rocco can love him. That's fine. I totally get that. He's a very valuable player for a guy like Baldelli. But, like, here's my question to the Twins. What are you doing? Like, what are we doing?
In general? Or
yes, just in general. What are we doing here?
Yeah.
Why are you insisting, Dex? It feels like you're insisting on making what's just already bad worse through your own doings.
Yeah, it's one thing with the trade deadline to be like coming up and percolating and having to deal with the awkwardness of your teammates leaving. Like, okay, like that, you've trended towards sellers. That's what's happening. I think the manager and the front office and the communication has completely fumbled and failed and not put any guardrails up to protect basically your clubhouse turning on everyone, not like everyone from within, because I don't think this is necessarily obviously like Griffin Jacks being pissed at Cody Clemens for coming in or anyone pissed at teammates for their decisions. I think they're upset with the trade deadline happening and then their organization and manager and front office basically saying like, well, this is what we're going to do. And it lacks professionalism. Like the whole thing to me is incredibly messy. It's cool. It's not cool. It's understandable to trade when you're sellers. That's on the surface right now. But the way they're fumbling this is really, really bad.
I mean, I think my first, and we're not like sitting in that office when these players are coming in there, but it kind of feels like when a pitcher disrespects a manager like that and is chirping, it looked like he was chirping some other coaches in the dugout too, Griffin Jacks I'm talking about. That to me, that is less about the incident in question in that moment, and it's more of a referendum on how he and other players feel about leadership in general. Because if you Like, think about whether it's a sports team or just like if you're listening to this podcast, think about your bosses at work. If there was just like one thing that kind of went sideways, you didn't love the way that your boss handled something or threw something at you or whatever, but over the 5 or 10 years of working at that company, you respected your management, right? Like you wouldn't pop off like that in front of other people, and you would say, okay, maybe I don't know if I love the way that my boss handled that, but like he's generally pretty much on the money, and I see the vision, so I'm going to give him a pass on this one. These stories that came out about like players going into Rocco's office to like demand some answers, and
Correa and Jax went in together, right? That's how I read it.
It felt like way bigger than just the handling of the 9th inning of a random game on July 30th, I guess.
I think part of the problem too here is what's come to a head, or what came to a head yesterday, is the much discussed hubris of the Twins. Okay, so Griffin Jax should not show up Baldelli. That's probably true. I get that. Like, privately, go in and MF him. I don't care. But you probably don't want to do that. But here's the hubris. Jax being brought into the game is, to me, and then Baldelli sort of doubled down on saying, well, once, he has to realize what we're doing. Okay, Rocco, let's talk about this, all right? You are hopelessly down. I know you can't put a position player in, but let's not make it sound like your bullpen is full of valuable arms of guys. Oh my God, this guy threw too much and his elbow went out. And now Michael Tonkin is injured. What are we going to do? So where Griffin Jax is 100% right is, why am I pitching? And Rocco sort of just went along with, well, he has to realize what we're doing here. Like, this is what frustrates me so much about authority figures who don't know what they're doing. It's like, no, you're wrong. And if he had said, you know what, I shouldn't have brought him in. I screwed up. He shouldn't have shown me up. But let's be honest, it starts with me. I made a mistake. Then you're like, okay, not a great decision, but okay, you sort of apologized as well. But Baldelli doubled down as if to say, I am the authority here. I am the authority figure here. Dude, you're in the midst of a lost season, coming off a choke job of epic proportions last August. And now you are taking, at the end of the day, turns out, arguably your best reliever, and you're putting him into a lost cause game because you can't put Cody Clemens in yet. I got other solutions, Rocco. Like, you could have called me at TCO Performance Center, standing by my good friend Phil Mackey on my cell phone, or you could have texted me and just said, "What should I do?" And I would have said, "Get up a guy you don't care about that much."
Sports consultant Judd.
Yeah.
Also, isn't it kind of like?
But what are we doing? Like that's what I think. What's the authority? Like, and then you're right, Phil. It's a great point. And then post game, and like, I'd love to know more about this. It was, and I don't think it wasn't reported on because it's not known. But like, Correa and Jax go in to meet with Rocco together. Like, is that your union rep? Like,
yeah, we need more details on that. I hope the beat does some digging on just what's beneath the surface there, because there's a lot beneath the surface here that is clearly spilling over and kind of popping off. But don't you think also it's kind of risky? You're getting your ass kicked in a meaningless game at this point. You've already started selling off pieces.
Yeah.
Right? And you're putting out, I'm assuming that they're having conversations still about Griffin Jax, and maybe I'm wrong on that, and they've decided internally he's not going anywhere. He's part of our team, so he is available to pitch. But if he's being shopped and you put him into that game a day before the trade deadline, and it was like 9-1 or whatever when they brought him in, right? And he gets hit with a line drive off the forearm or something and goes on the IL, and now of course he's under team control for 2.5 years, so you'd have other chances to trade him. But the whole thing just felt like,
okay, here's an example. Like in your current job, you oversee, I do not, thank God I don't want to, employees, right? Like you've got some folks, and you try and
probably
do
a bad idea, quite frankly.
But my point is, you have common sense, so you try your best to not appease them, but also not make their life more difficult, like to get what you need. All right. Mm-hmm. So let's say Griffin Jax is not being shopped. A week ago, right or wrong, you told him clearly without any like setup until the last second, walk Ohtani, which backfired for him. Like it was probably the right call, but it backfired for him. He was upset about it, okay? And what matters at the end of the day is what does employee Jax, because we need him again. So let's say he's not being shopped yesterday. Do you think that putting him in that lost cause of a game doesn't alienate him more? Like it would be like if you were to tell AJ, you know what, you do a great job, and you're going to work every Saturday and Sunday forever.
Yeah, I'm going to need you to come in on Saturday.
Yes, but I mean, seriously, like
you get those TPS reports, AJ?
What's the common sense there? Like Griffin Jax, we can talk about the fact he's not had a great season, but he is, and by the end of the day, was more of a valuable employee if he's going to stick around. So what are we doing?
It is kind of incredible since Derek Falvey took over 8 years ago, and even since Joe Pohlad took over. Not that like Jim and Carl Pohlad were the most personable, human connection, build culture types of owners. But it does feel like there's been a much bigger gap in that human connection than when Terry Ryan was there, Ron Gardenhire was there, et cetera, right? I mean, it is like, even just to back this out, I spent time this morning sadistically, masochistically, preparing for some of these big picture Twins conversations that are inevitable on the Twin Show and Mackey and Judd, talking to Doogie and stuff, just trying to get my head around the last 20 months. And I saw our guy Parker Hageman, who does an awesome job on social media from Twins Daily, and he put out the video of Duran recording the final out, that swing and a miss strikeout to beat the Blue Jays 2-0 to win the first playoff series in 2 decades. And he tweeted, "Future sports management textbooks will simply call this chapter How to Lose a Fan Base in Record Time." It got my wheels turning, like, what has happened in these last 20 months? Because we're sitting here kind of focused on this weird set of exchanges in the 9th inning of a game on July 30th. But to me, it's all part of this 20-month, or even in some cases, 8-year spiral to where we are right now, where the Twins said, yeah, we have 2.5 years of team control left on a really inexpensive, lights out, in his prime closer. And we're trading him. And we could have a debate about whether they got enough in return. And I kind of like the Major League ready pitching prospect they got. I kind of like. But if you go back 20 months, it is a masterclass in systematically destroying fan goodwill, in organizational incompetence. I mean, we're talking about the field staff and Rocco and his connection with the players, but it's literally ownership to front office, to field staff, to some of the players who appear like maybe they're not doing all that they could do. The players certainly don't get fully off the hook here. Mm-hmm. And even some things in between all those areas too. I mean, just days after winning a playoff series for the first time in 20 years, and a playoff game too for the first time in 20 years, the first thing this organization does is float to the beat writers, like literally days after this glorious moment, right? Then they lost to the Astros, but people are still like, okay, whatever, you lost to the Astros, but bring on the 2024 season. And the first thing they do is float, we're cutting payroll, and we're not bringing back Sonny Gray. Fan favorite, awesome pitcher, Cy Young votes, all those things. Yeah. First, like in terms of tone deafness and communication.
And that starts with that was one of Joe Pohlad's first moves, because he thought by being transparent. But my biggest, so where I will say that what occurred in the 9th inning and post game yesterday fits the 30,000 foot narrative perfectly, is it summarizes it. Like if you were to say, okay, I don't got time to really research the past 20 months, give me the Cliff Notes. Mm-hmm. Just give me the Cliff Notes. I'd say yesterday it was the Cliff Notes. It's hubris, it's arrogance, it's everything that it summarizes it. Like they come off as, and it drives me crazy, it's a failure right now, and yet they are acting like they know what they are doing. And that's when Rocco puts Jax in and like never apologizes for that, and literally then says, well, once Jax put those guys on and gave up a run, we were down by enough to bring in Cody Clemens. Willie Castro, assuming that a utility guy who you like, that's fine, that's great, but that you like should get the last day of his career Hall of Fame treatment of let's bring him off the field for a round of applause. And then you clearly don't tell him. So he's just confused. He's not happy. He's confused. And the fans are like, well, he's been traded. And the media is like, well, he's been traded. So I really think that what occurred on Wednesday is a perfect summary of the past 20 months, which is nothing but arrogance, confusion. Like, you won a playoff series, and you didn't just have your ordinary Twins fans there, because tickets were, and this was not a great thing, but it could have been a great thing, because tickets were very accessible to playoff games, right? Mm-hmm. You had all of these young fans. We saw them. You had all these young fans there, and they're like, oh, this is fun. And then they're like, oh my God, playoffs. And playoffs are contagious. Like, you can feel it. And instead of saying, okay, we got something special here, let's capitalize.
Yes.
They said, whoa, we got to cut payroll here. And we're going to tell you, and we're going to let a pitcher who was a key part of that. I mean, imagine if Sonny Gray is still here right now. Pablo goes down, it's mitigated a little bit. So I think yesterday did a perfect job of summarizing why massive changes are needed, because common sense does not exist.
Yeah, well, you were making the argument 2 years ago that it feels like they're being really short-sighted with the way they're approaching this. It was an obvious financial fork in the road, because the local TV infrastructure was crumbling down. And of course, you could argue that a lot of these teams, including the Twins, should have saw that coming from 8 years ago and had a better plan for it than like, oh my God, what do we do?
Right.
But your job as a sports ownership group and as an organization is to, at its core, and entertain fans, get fans excited so that they will spend money. Like, that's what that ultimately, especially in baseball, where gate revenue, ticket revenue is so important. Get eyeballs on the product for TV value. And the two main ways to achieve this are, one, win at a high level, which the Twins rarely do. They've won 2 playoff series since 1991. It's funny because you don't think that. Like, when you think about the Twins, I think they've done a fairly good job over the years being competitive enough to kind of make you think, oh, they're like close to the playoffs, or they got to the playoffs. They just ran into the Yankees. They've won 2 playoff series since 1991. Mm-hmm. So the number one way you keep fans engaged and excited and locked into your product and buying tickets is win a lot of games. That's entertaining. But there's a second way that you can do this, even if you're not winning World Series. Padres, I would argue the Mariners do this, maybe not to the extent of the Padres draw 42,000 fans per game. And they're always the second best team in that division. They've not played in a World Series since 98.
Yeah,
against the Yankees, right?
The late 90s. Yep.
But the second way that you can get fans to continue buying into your product is to show them that you care, and show them that hey, we're all of us together are a community, part of something big. Maybe we haven't hit our goal yet. The Vikings. We haven't won a Super Bowl yet, but we're going to talk about winning a Super Bowl. We're going to pour our energy in. The Vikings do a brilliant job. We're gonna make this the most player and fan friendly experience. There's not going to be the owners aren't going to be talking about right sizing the business publicly and stripping payroll down.
Can you imagine if after the Houston loss but the Toronto playoff win? Can you imagine if the Twins had said, okay, what we're going to do is, because it's gotten hanky, and I believe that they had the opportunity to, and they renewed. But anyway, we're going to go forward with Twins TV at this point, and we're not going to cut our payroll. We're going to bring Gray back.
We're going to take a hit more than we usually do, because we feel like we're on the verge of something bigger here.
But what we saw in the playoff games against Toronto was a lot of young fans who seem to like us now. And guess what they like to do? They like to stream games. They don't want cable. They don't want blackouts. So we are going to take a short-term hit for the momentum and the long-term gain that Twins TV, like if you had not cut payroll, if you had kept Gray and you had come back with the Twins TV product the next season, people would have gotten it. People would have probably slashed something else to get it. But pardon my French, you completely pissed the opportunity away because you could not see past the nose on your face.
Yeah, it's those we in our industry here on the content side of things, we talk a lot about really capitalizing on those peak moments of interest when fan interest is at its highest point, and we tend to pride ourselves on we're going to be live with fans after Vikings games. If there's trade deadline stuff happen, if you guys, the fans, are super interested in something, then we're going to double down on the content that we're putting out there, right? And it's like the Twins had one of those peak moments of interest 20 months ago that you've only gotten one other time in the century, back in 2002 when they won that series against the A's. It felt like, oh, this is like a pivot point for the organization. Okay, instead, they decided, and this set the tone for everything trickling all the way down. The players felt it. I mean, there are unhappy players in that clubhouse that feel this over the last 20 months, like important ass players. And they decided we desperately need to save $30 million financially in the short term for whatever reason. Like, I don't know if they were in a family financial crunch or if they were just myopically focused on right-sizing the business in the micro, as Joe Polad used that famous quote 2 years ago. But here's the irony of trying to save $30 million 20 months ago. So I did some of this math this morning just for fun here. The average Major League Baseball fan, according to a few sources across the internet and ChatGPT, and maybe like the Dave St. Peters would tweak this, but the average Major League fan spends like $55 to $70 per game. Ticket, beverage, all in once you're in the stadium. Twins average attendance in 2010 was 40,000 fans per game. That's an unrealistic number. Now the Padres are over that, and they're not winning a World Series. So like you can show fans, hey, we're all in here, and they will flock. The Braves were like bottom of the NL, and the Braves were like, I think the Braves were like third from the bottom of the NL in attendance 10 years ago for 3 or 4 years. They spent some money, made some trades. They did win a World Series, and now they're like 36,000, 37,000 fans a game, and they're 16 games under 500.
And they're in the suburbs now, too. So, like, they built this stadium with all this stuff around it, which helps as well, yeah.
Yep. But my point here is the average Major League attendance is 30,000 fans a game. And I'm like, the Rockies are getting 30,000 fans a game. The Mariners, the Brewers, the Tigers. Take away the Dodgers, the Yankees. These are like middle to Twins-like markets, right? So is it reasonable to say that if the Twins would have decided we're going to keep our foot on the gas pedal, we're not going to worry about saving $30 million in the short term because we're losing some TV money here, we're going to eat that? The Timberwolves, by the way, the much maligned Glenn Taylor, and then Mark Lowry, Alex Rodriguez said, we're going to have the second biggest luxury tax bill in the entire league. We are going to lose potentially $100 million on this year's Timberwolves team because we feel like long-term getting back to the Western Conference Finals and putting Anthony Edwards in a spotlight, like it's going to pay off long-term, right? So if we think the Twins, by just caring more and just, maybe it wasn't Sonny Gray, but maybe it was like finding other ways to spend that $30 million, right? Make your team better. Tell your fans that you're interested. We're all in this together. Let's make a push forward. Is it reasonable to say that they would have gotten back up to that 28, 29, 30, 31,000 per game attendance number that they were at in 2019, not that long ago? And if you math that out, if the average person spends $60 a game at Target Field, we're talking over the course of a full season, $40 to $50 million in ticket revenue. Not to mention the Twins TV subscriptions that Judd alludes to. All the other merchandise that people might buy on Twin, like just keep the good vibes flowing 20 months ago.
And if you decide to sell, how much is your franchise valuation now? $2 billion.
Is it
plus.
$2 billion? Right.
Oh yeah.
So
the Rays are $1.7 billion in a minor league stadium with no fans.
Know, dude, it's wild. So, anyways, like it started with the micro, the ninth inning yesterday, but then my mind just spiraled all the way like 20 months of wow, and here we are. And there's probably going to be more trades today. And like, again, in the micro where they are right now, they should make more trades today. Mm-hmm. They should trade like 5 more players. I wouldn't trade Joe Ryan, but they should be trading 4 or 5 more players today. It's the right thing to do in a vacuum. But it's how we got here that is extremely triggering.
And you could have, like, I'm not saying that, or insinuating that you two are saying Sonny Gray's departure is the reason why.
No.
And I know you're not saying that.
I actually see why. He was like 33 years old and whatever. But like, okay, then take that money and do something besides Chris Paddock is going to replace.
Well,
Sonny Gray.
You could have just also made up for it by not adding Trevor Richards and DFAing him and then saying that was our deadline move, and then your team absolutely collapses. They were, as they were climbing, still after the trade deadline, they were winning games those first few weeks after the deadline. It was August 19th that the wheels came off the bus. There was some big crowds there. They had a big one against Cleveland. There was something brewing there. However, if you would have added something meaningful at the deadline and not have star players or players telling me is this just the classic Twins way of how we do things here? Is this how we're going to go about things? We'll just make a sideways move and whoop-de-doo, and here we go, and we'll just power on because we couldn't find any solution to make our team better. You could have made up for that at the trade deadline last year. You didn't do that. Yeah. And then the team completely fell off. You had injuries that happened, sure. Like, bet that's going to happen throughout the course of the year. I keep coming back to this fact because this is an absolute fact. The White Sox are horrible, and they're going to be so bad for the next few years, most likely, right? You have won as many division titles as the Chicago White Sox in the last 4 years, which is sad. Like, you are in a better spot than Chicago, even after today. Like, I still think in 2026, with the prospects they're hauling in here, and maybe there's some nice free agent additions with new owners that will come in and spark some interest here, you have won as many playoff AL Central Division titles as Chicago during the stretch of when you thought, well, we'd have a really good team here. Boy, like this is bad, and you're 12th, right? 12th now in the American League. You're nowhere close to a playoff spot. So they built their own bed, and then they just continued to shovel what on top of themselves on the way out.
And the problem now is they're not a well-run baseball operation, and they're a worse-run business operation. That's the thing, is they're not well-run. Like if a new owner does not come in and at some point in time, after kicking the tires, you take a look. I totally get that. Does not make massive changes, then I'm going to lose faith quickly. Like Derek Falvey is in over his head. The business operation thing to me was a bridge way too far. But the baseball thing, and I'll just come. I think the proliferation goes right down. The baseball thing is an arrogance. It's an arrogance of we know what we're doing. And you're like, you really don't. And they're like, no, we do. They are every father of your friend in like grade school who you couldn't stand because he's like, I'm not Mr. Baldelli. I'm Rocco. My dad was Mr. Baldelli. It's like, you're a fraud. You're a complete fraud. And look, I actually have some empathy for him because I don't think Rocco gets a lot of support here. And I think there's a lot of things that he has to fall on the sword for. But, it's funny. 2019 was a lot of fun. And I gave Rocco and Phil, I think we both did, gave him a lot of credit. But at the end of the day, you realize how much Nelson Cruz ran that team. Like what
he was a big time leader on the field and off the field.
Yeah, he took care. He clearly took care of a lot of things. And I think Carlos thinks he's that, but he's not that.
No, Carlos is, and also now that he's not effective as a player, he also just looks weathered, man. Yeah. Like he was talking about the latest bumps and bruises.
Well, his need to tell you he's in control constantly is really grating.
Yeah, I think if he was a real bona fide leader of a clubhouse, I don't think you'd have some of the issues and the tension that you have right now on that field level. So, what I could go for right now? Just drown myself in a Green Mill pizza. Emotional eating, I think, can help get us out of this Twins funk. So our friends at Pep's Pizza, who also make legit pizza, which we've been talking about here, they also distribute Green Mill Restaurant Pizza, that iconic Green Mill Restaurant brand, the award-winning Green Mill Restaurant pizzas that you can enjoy now anytime at home. The Mackeys had one of those Il Primos the other night, which was sausage, pepperoni, and mushroom, and some other incredible premium ingredients. They also offer up soft breadsticks and sauces at your local grocer. You can learn more at greenmillfoods.com. And a shout out to MSP Plumbing, Heating, and Air helping us through this vent session on Mackey and Judd.
They absolutely are. And it's cooled off, which is great, right? But I'm going to tell you right now, August is almost here, and a heat wave is inevitable. It's coming back. And that means that if in the last heat wave, your furnace or your AC, that, of course, furnace is for winter, your AC, if it's not going well right now, or let's just say you're like, the efficiency is not there yet, I have an answer for you. MSP Plumbing, Heating, and Air to the rescue. only $49 for an AC tune-up to make sure that when the heat does hit again and it gets hot and muggy, that your AC is running at full efficiency. Repairs, install, reliable service. That's what they're all about. Also, just ask about their Total Comfort Club membership so your house, your comfort, covered year-round. 651-615-4292 or go to their website, callmsp.com. Call msp.com. Sports Dad has had them in his house. Can tell you right now they do fantastic work, and I don't allow a lot of people in my house, Dex and Phil? No. MSP Plumbing, Heating, and Air? Absolutely. Call MSP.com.
I feel like before we wrap Mackey and Judd here, we need a Barney Zulgad update.
It's right here.
How's our guy Barnabas doing?
Barnabas is sleeping right now. He's so small, it's great. He does not really make a noise, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
But yeah, he does need to be, he doesn't do stairs, so he needs to be carried outside. But I mean, I can carry him in basically one hand.
Does he not do stairs like long term? Doesn't do stairs?
No, he's
or just
5 years old.
Just like right now he doesn't.
I'm gonna work with him a little bit on some small stairs, but he's 5 years old, so my feeling is he's not going to do lots of stairs.
He's not that old.
No, but and there's a few around the house I think I can work with him on, train him up and get him to work on those a little bit.
Like Rocky and Apollo on the beach.
Yeah, but for the most part I think he's going to be like, carry me. I'm lazy. And I'm going to be like, okay, Barney. But yeah, no, he's been exceptional. Yeah, and he won't jump off the couch too.
I do love I've seen some photos of you with your little dog satchel or what's
yeah, Dawn bought that.
You carry him around the house in this little.
It's great. You stick him in the satchel. Yep, and carry him around the house.
It's literally like me here in 6 weeks with you and your puppy. It's the exact same.
Declan's gonna have a human in there.
Except you'll have a
5-year-old dog.
You'll have a kid that spits up and stuff like that, and you gotta. I just have to it's not too hard, and he's so small that it's like. It's almost like, dare I say, a cat in some ways. The fact that the maintenance factor. Like the Stella, she's small too, but the Stella maintenance factor. She'll probably start to bark in an hour and I'll have to go let her out and take care of her, which is fine. I'm not complaining. But this one's just like Ed McMahon right here. He's my Andy Richter, just sitting down here. Co-hosting and
just laughing at your jokes, but
he laughs.
Doesn't really think they're funny, but the cameras are rolling. He has to laugh.
Dawn, Stella, and Barney now do not think I am nearly as funny as I think I am. That's
you get a bigger crowd now to test out your takes, test out your material.
Well, the State Fair will have a big crowd.
Are you going to bring? Can you bring dogs to the?
Barney, no. I'm just saying I can test out my.
Barney would be smushed so quickly.
If
you think Sweet Martha cookies get smushed all over the ground?
You carry him in the
pouch.
It's not worth the risk, and I don't know I could.
The risk of public humiliation or the risk of him?
No, the risk of him being hurt.
Okay,
I can't have Barney get hurt. I'm responsible for him.
Old Barnabas. So, a new member of the Score North family, Barney Zulgad.
He does agree that the Twins are a mess.
Yeah, I saw him kind of nodding in agreement there throughout
he's some of
here. He's like, the ownership rant there.
What a gong show.
Yeah, we will do. This feels like a week where people want to get some of this off their chest as it pertains to the Twins, and then there are some players I want to see Aaron Sabato, former first round pick. I want to see Austin Martin again, so I will still be curious to see what these players look like. There are still some really good core players, young players here. But yeah, we'll devote a Feedback Friday episode to the Score North Twin Show tomorrow. And I know Dex is on trade watch all day, covering the Twins beat there. So, but this has been Mackey and Judd here. Themes from the week. We'll see you guys next week.